Okay, hi, hello. I'm Octini.
I'm Miss Ray.
This is Unravel 2. It's a puzzle platformer that was released in 2018, and we are going to do this speed run of it offline for marathon submission purposes. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. We will talk more about the game as we go along. Starting save slot 1 with a fresh file.
And that is important because we're going to do a few save and quits after the chapters, so being a slave slot 1 makes that a lot easier.
Yep. Mash through this opening cutscene. You jiggle.
During which we are shipwrecked.
Yep. All right, we're going to change our appearance here because we like to do that.
We often will have this be some sort of bid war, so we can have
there's
a few different options for options of
exactly.
like duos of colors.
Exactly. Yeah, we like having incentives for choosing the color pairings.
Time doesn't start until we move, so we do have the option there to pick colors, which is nice.
Yep. So these are the Yarnies. They are anthropomorphic yarn creatures, and they're delightful and adorable, and I love them. They are my children.
I would die for Yarnies.
But yeah, this is the island upon which we have shipwrecked. And the A plot of this game is just going to be fix the lighthouse. Basically, the ship was wrecked because the lighthouse bulb was burnt out or not lit or whatever. So the Yarnies are going to locate the lighthouse, climb the lighthouse, and fix the light. But saying that does not even come close to doing this game justice, so you'll see. There's also a B plot that we'll talk more about as well, but first we're going to get going here in just a second. Go.
Time. And we have already used some speed tech.
Yep. And we can also do a 3, 2, 1 countdown for time there as well. It's not
we can. It's first movement, so we can sit there.
You do not have to move immediately.
Uh-oh. Oof, I made it.
Well done.
Okay, so I said we've already used some speed tech. I don't have to play right now, so I can kind of explain how all of this game functions as a speed run. The idea is that we have two different Yarnies, and they're connected with a yarn in between us, which we just saw them connect that yarn. You can merge and unmerge, so you actually the game is exactly the same solo as it is co-op. It's just that you have to kind of merge and unmerge more often. But you're not supposed to be able to merge unless you're kind of standing right next to each other. Like if you're this close, then your yarn merges together, and then one of you is in control and the other one is not.
Right.
But what we can do, there's the godfather of the speedrun. His name is Pokewix. He and his friends were just messing around casually, and they realized that if you hold the merge button and the hold the yarn button, then no matter how far away you are, you can merge. It just flies you across the screen to the other person. And kind of everything that we do is messing with how the yarn physics works there. Because ultimately, if I am flying and he jumps, then I will also move up. So we really play with that and take advantage of how that physics works.
Yeah, whatever movement... Well, here, we'll show you.
I'm going to jump right, and it moved Octini right, and now suddenly he was higher to the right than he should have been able to be, so he could be on top of that without actually having to do it the right way.
Whatever movement, and it's always Ray. Ray is the person who always is the zoopy. I am always the zooper, I think without exception, when we're doing
always.
speed tech stuff.
You want to zoop?
Yeah.
Like there, I jumped up and right, it moved him up and right, and then I canceled the zoop.
Yep.
So suddenly he's in midair somewhere he shouldn't be able to be, and he can grab something he shouldn't have been able to grab.
Yes, so whatever movement the Zoop E makes will be mirrored in the Zooper, and we use that for additional height and distance and leftward or rightward movement on jumps, and it allows us to do jumps that we shouldn't be able to do ordinarily.
We skip a whole lot of puzzles that way.
Yeah. But you still get to see the entire game, which is great. So there are a couple different categories of this game. This is the no major skips category.
So like here, we're still going to see the puzzle, but that's not how you're supposed to solve it.
No,
you're
not even
supposed to go stand on top of that log so that the other person can get under it, and instead we just say, hey, I'm right under this log, just come join me.
Yeah. There are other categories. The unrestricted any percent category of this game is a wild thing to watch. It is really, really out there.
This
because there
is
are...
going to take us about almost 6 minutes.
Yeah, ish.
In the any percent world record, I think it takes
less than a minute.
Like 50 seconds.
Yeah, you can essentially turn objects into rocket ships. You can fling your yarnies, and that's actually the term we use for some of the tech, are flings. You can fling your yarnies across space and time, except not time.
Not really.
And just cover, I mean, amazing distances through just really, really exploiting some of the tech. But we keep it fairly simple because we like to be able to see, as much of the game as possible.
That's why we run the game.
Yep. Oops.
There we go. This isn't even speed tech. That's just being fancy with your jumps.
Yep. So the run itself takes about an hour. There are 7 chapters in the game. There's also 20 bonus chapters. I guess you call them bonus. They're like challenge levels. And that is something that we often will submit as an incentive to do an additional run of the 20 challenge levels, because it really, really gets to show off some of the cooler, more challenging platforming and puzzle solving that the game has to offer. And all told, that takes a little bit less than half an hour.
So all of these swings are supposed to take a lot longer because you're not supposed to be able to zoop this way. So ultimately the person holding you should have to then drop down and climb up the yarn to rejoin you. And instead we just say, no, I'm just coming over right now.
Right.
We're nearly to the end of this chapter and we have the hardest skip right here. In this chapter at least. Made it. Cool.
First try. Easy game.
Easy game. We're supposed to have to swim across there on the bottom and then swing back. Swimming is really slow.
Yes, it is.
So we don't like to do it.
Avoid it whenever possible.
Swim of shame is never preferred.
Yep. Yeah, zoops are fast. Swings are fast. Walking is slow. Swimming is slower.
And actually, jumping is fast because we're playing on PS4. This is not true on the PC, but something about the movement in PS4, it's actually faster to be jumping, especially uphill, downhill. So you'll see us bunny hopping almost constantly. Mm-hmm. In the PC version, it doesn't really make much of a difference, but it does here. So, like I said, it's like less than 6 minutes for chapter 1 on PS4. It's a little more than 6 minutes for a chapter 1 on PC.
Yeah, the difference is pretty significant. Just in the first chapter of the game, there's about 15 seconds you can save running on a fast console versus running on PC, which is the opposite of how you usually think of speed games, right? Because PC has such fast load times usually. Generally, most games are, if they are available on both, consoles as well as on PC, the PC tends to be the fastest medium to speedrun. Not true of this game, because while the load times are faster on PC, movement is just a little bit quicker on the consoles. We don't know exactly why. We think maybe it has something to do with frame rate,
but we're
not
sure.
I don't know. But there's something about the movement of the yarnies that makes it a little bit quicker, and it really adds up. All told, it's probably close to 2.5 minutes that you can save over the course of the run. So what you just saw that we just talked through was the yarnies arriving at the lighthouse that's sort of dilapidated and broken down, and all we did was we walked to the right across that floor and into another portal, and we have emerged from the portal in this building, and we're about to start the B plot. So you see this shadowy figure of a girl in the background. You're going to meet her friend in a little while, but suffice to say, it's never clearly explained, but what we've sort of gathered is this is some sort of an abusive situation. She's in foster care or a group home or something like that, and is very unhappy here, and she wants out.
All of these kind of black, shadowy figures are adults, and kind of the plot here is adults are bad. Yeah,
moral of the story. So the yarnies are going to... Deliberately or not, honestly, I can't tell. I don't know if it's on purpose. But the Yarnies are going to help these kids, because we're about to meet a second one, on their journey to freedom.
And we are somehow connected to them. It's not just us saying, well, we're going to help them.
Right.
Our colors match the colors of their shirts. So as
yeah.
we change our colors, they also change their shirts.
No matter what colors of yarn you choose, they will always match the kids'
So somehow we are connected.
Kind of a slow swing there.
That's all right. So here in chapter 2, we're going through a city and helping the kids kind of get out of the city. And then we will eventually kind of work our way up a mountain, essentially.
Yeah.
We go through some woods and then up to a dam, and then eventually we ride the river back down to the city in the very end.
But each of the portals that we walk in that are found kind of throughout the lighthouse will take us to different locations, and it just sort of follows these kids on their journey.
That screen's a really good example of how much you can skip with zooping. You're supposed to have to, one of you goes down and builds a bridge so that the other person can fall down safely.
You can build little bridges out of your yarn.
There was electricity at the bottom that would fry us, and instead we just don't do that.
Yep. Speaking of things that can fry us, we're about to be introduced to the enemies of the game right here. These are called cigarettes. Well, we call them cigarettes at least.
The community calls them cigarettes.
Yeah. And don't touch them. If you touch them, you die.
Yeah, fire is bad for yarn, so I think we must be made out of acrylic yarn, personally.
Ray likes to quilt. She knows a lot about yarn. Okay, so I did not get a good... Yeah, that wasn't worth it. What I hope to achieve during that little cutscene that we just talked about, the cigarettes, is... you can still... The Yarnies can still move. And what you want to see is the Yarnies land... you start the next section standing on top of the box that I jumped up onto.
But he didn't make it up.
But I didn't make it up onto the top of the box, which means that I did not get the fast cycle through the cigarettes platforming section.
You saw us have to wait for one.
Yeah,
it is possible to get through there.
It loses you all of 3 or 4 seconds, but it's, frustrating nonetheless. There's a little, oh, then never mind. That's later. I was about to say there's a cat.
No,
there is a cat, but that's not quite yet.
There are a lot of animals, though.
So here we have fountains coming up. Oh, perfect.
If you play on the Switch, there is no water on these fountains, and you don't have to worry about getting hit.
Yep. You do not want to let that water touch you. If it does, you get knocked over, and you deal with what we call fall damage. Here's the cat in the background right there.
Hi, kitty.
Very underfed cat. You deal with what we call fall damage. What happens is if you get knocked over, and this also happens if you fall from a great height or, a couple other instances. You fall down onto the ground and you can't move for a couple of seconds. There are some instances where you cannot avoid the fall damage, so we mitigate it instead by ensuring that we are merged together when we suffer that fall damage.
Because if I unmerge, I am no longer affected by said fall damage.
Yep. So Ray can just hop right off of me
and start
moving again, and then once I regain control of my Yarny, I can just zoop to her. Little optimizations like that make it faster.
Yeah, that's really one of the... Other than Zoops, that's the other big advantage that co-op has over solo. Because in solo, you then have to move the fall damaged Yarny to the other Yarny, so it doesn't really save you any time.
Yeah. But really, it's Zoops.
It's really Zoops. I mean, even fall damage is a Zoop, so...
Watching this game played solo is like watching a completely different game. Nice.
I mean, also lovely.
Oh yeah, it's great. And you get to see all the same puzzles, and you see all the same stuff. You just almost every single puzzle is solved completely differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
And my younger brother, actually, it's kind of nice. We're a speedrunning family. Ray is my real life wife, and we are co-op speedrunning partners. We speedrun a lot of local co-op games together. My younger brother also is a speedrunner, and he runs the solo route of this game. Mm-hmm. So it's nice. We have an opportunity to all sort of play games together. Whoop, a little early.
There we go.
And we were fortunate, actually, to get to showcase this game on the GDQ Hotfix. I think it was the Bargain Bin Hotfix show. And all three of us got to run. My brother did the solo run of this, and then after that, we showed this exact route, actually, the NMS category of this game. And then we got to do the all challenges run afterwards. So it was a really, really nice night for people who enjoy this game, like us. This is one of my favorite games of all time. This is the first speedrun that Ray and I ever learned, and it remains my favorite game to run. It is an absolute gem.
You know, I feel like there are two different ways to come to speedrunning, and it's either I want to run and get fast, or it's I love this game and I want to play it 100,000 times. And this is definitely I love this game and I want to play it 100,000 times.
Yep.
So I guess I learned the speedrun so I have an excuse to, basically. And I think that's one of the really nice things about speedrunning. There are so many ways to interact with it.
Yeah.
Even now, actually, we are not running the fastest possible route in NMS.
Yes. There are a couple of exploits available that are
we just don't find them fun.
Yeah.
So we don't do them
that
because
are
you don't
eligible.
have to.
Yeah, it is eligible tech for the NMS category, but we choose not to do it because we don't find it as enjoyable. We find that it takes away a little bit from maximizing the gameplay, and I am very much in the I want to play the whole game fast.
Oh, I shouldn't have. That's okay. Yeah, and obviously other people are using them because their goal is to go as fast as possible.
Right.
There are lots of different ways to interact with speedrunning, and I think that's super cool.
Nice.
That's a good skip.
I love that skip. So more cigarettes. Boop, boop.
We're kind of in the final section of chapter 2.
Yep.
This little, like, inside attic-y factory situation. Like, what even... Where are we, honestly?
Who knows? It's kind of a close call on that first cigarette.
This is a more complicated version of that puzzle we saw earlier, where you fall and you're supposed to build a bridge. That bridge is harder to build.
Yep.
But same idea, we don't need to build it. It's fine. And then there are these cannons that shoot you, and this is where that fall damage happens.
Yep, so I cannot move right away. I'm the pink Yarny, by the way.
Yeah, but
Ray is blue.
I could move because I just got off of him right away, so that helps. Just here and there save a second or two. And there are some places that both of you have to touch the next loading trigger, but this one
only one of us has to go through this screen transition. So I'm just going to stay here instead of climbing all the way up, which would take more time. And when the screen transitions, I almost said alakadabra, abracadabra, alakazam, whatever. We're both there, even though I didn't climb up. And that's the end of chapter 2. So you see the kids hiding out here in this attic. Relatively safe for the moment. Rubik's Cube.
A lot of the Rubik's Cube, there's a couple things here that you'll see in the lighthouse if we spent enough time in the lighthouse for you to see it.
There's art hanging on the walls. I keep pointing at my monitor like you can see it. There's art hanging on the walls in the background that sort of matches the art that you'll see in the lighthouse. And this is the first cutscene skip.
Yeah, so that portal is taking us back to the lighthouse, and then what it should do is what it did after the first chapter, where that little light kind of shows us where the next portal is and puts some color in the art on the walls. And instead, we just save, we quit, we reload, and the lighthouse is already loaded.
Yep.
So on PC, it's always faster to save and quit.
Because of the load times.
On consoles, it kind of depends. I think someone did do the timing, and on Switch, it's faster like on half of them. We have a PS4 with a solid-state drive, so it's always faster for us.
Yes. Yeah, I modded our PlayStation 4 Pro to put a solid-state drive in it, so our load times are as fast as they can be without being a PlayStation 5, and I'm not 100% sure the PlayStation 5s actually exist. I think they might be a myth, like the unicorn or the narwhal. Fun fact, I didn't actually think narwhals were real animals until I was like 30.
Well, that's because people call them the unicorn of the sea.
Right,
and like we know unicorns are fake.
Exactly. I didn't realize a narwhal was a real animal. Anyway, um,
There we
made
go.
it. I love that swing. That's such a huge swing.
Okay, chapter 3 is just an absolutely lovely chapter.
3 and 4 both are like, if I had to live in one of the chapters in this game for the rest of my life, I'd have a hard time choosing between 3 and 4. But I would not have a hard time choosing 3 or 4. The rest of the chapters are very bleak in comparison.
Yeah, so we're gonna spend some time in the nice, lovely section of the game. So we're at a party. You can kind of see the party maybe got a little out of hand.
Mm-hmm. Again, adults are bad.
Again, adults are bad. So the kids are trying to get away. Again. Just lots of running away for these kids. Lots of little animals here in the background. There's a hedgehog
Including,
here, a dragonfly.
Hedgehog! What's up, Hedgehog?
Just absolutely perfect. Okay. We're going to have another little tiny cutscene, and then those 2 lights, like at the beginning of chapter 2, 2 little lights that we both have to find our way into to kind of unlock the next section.
Mm-hmm. So you have more shadowy adult figures swatting the firefly. How dare you? Rude. Swat our firefly friend. So this upcoming screen transition after this little mini cutscene, this is sort of an interesting thing that we found out as a small optimization. I'm going to separate. I zooped over to Ray, which obviously merged us, but I separated immediately because the little screen transition as we're walking out of that, is it a barn? Would you call it a barn?
Yeah, shed, barn, either
as
way.
we're walking out of that barn, if the Yarnies are merged together, takes probably more than twice as long
They just move way
to
slower.
regain full control of your Yarnies. If you're unmerged, it goes by real quick.
Very
No
slight.
idea why.
Yep.
No idea why. It's really strange.
In the background right now, you can see a horse. It has beautiful antlers.
It does. Hi, horse.
We're going to see horses again later. And then later after that, we'll see some moose.
Don't worry, that's an inside joke. We know what horses are like.
Yeah, it looks like that.
I honestly I don't even remember where that joke started.
I don't know, but everyone in the community does it now. That's a horse, and don't you say otherwise.
All right, now we're underground. You see this green bioluminescent stuff? If you hang out inside of the green glowing mushrooms, the cigarettes do not chase you. They can't find you in there. But also that's slow, so we don't do that. We book it, and they can't catch us.
We're supposed to do a whole puzzle here, and we don't.
Yeah, we skip this entire room, which is great. I love it. Okay, there is a universal Twitch emote available that is a turkey. If ever you were to spam an emote in chat, now is the time. Because, Ray, what time is it?
It's turkey time.
Turkey time. Turkey time is the best time.
I love that the kids are just hanging out, having a good time, and then suddenly a turkey. So this turkey in-game is based on a real-life turkey, actually a grouse,
Yeah.
who attacked a reporter, like, on camera, and the devs went, that's incredible.
Yep.
We have to include that
Yeah,
in
the
our
game devs read about this grouse and said, well, obviously that's going in. Okay, new way.
Yep. I'm gonna wait right here. So the turkey's paying attention to me and not gonna notice Octini. So I can start moving and he'll be able to zoop up to me just to save some travel time there. Trade places. We could run this separately. One of the great things about this game, both casually and as a speedrun, is that because you can stay merged, and some of us call it backpacking, you don't both have to be good at platforming. He can be good at platforming, and I can be good at holding a controller.
And we are actually, in that sense, we're a really excellent team. Because I'm good at the platforming sections. I am terrible at the speed tech. If we had to trade places,
I don't
to
think
trade roles, oh yeah, we wouldn't finish a single run. Ray struggles with some of the platforming stuff. I straight up can't do a lot of the speed tech. I just can't. I can't do it. So that's a thing.
So if you're a big gamer and the person that you live with or your best friend or your partner or whoever isn't a huge gamer but is willing to on occasion, I always say that this is a perfect game for that situation. Because if there's anywhere that they're getting frustrated and they're like, I just keep falling and I keep dying, you can just merge onto me and I can take care of it for you.
Yep. Yeah, we do a lot of backpacking. Other people in the community will run the vast majority of the game separately because it's a bit of a double-edged sword. You can, if you run separately, you can make up for, if one person fails a swing or somebody has a better swing or something like that, then you zoop together and you make up ground that way. Hey, 2 golds in a row. Go us. And so you can do really, really, really well running separately. But if you get too far apart and you're not able to zoop together, it can have...
The unit between you can tangle when you're zooping?
Yes. Yeah, zoops, I don't know if Ray mentioned this when she was explaining zoops at the beginning. Zoops allow you to merge from any distance, assuming that
right.
Within the limits of your yarn length, because your yarn is not infinitely long. You can get stretched out.
The yarnies actually get thinner as you run out of yarn, so when they're too thin, there's no more yarn.
Because they begin to unravel.
Oh my gosh. But the yarn that connects you does still have collision, so if you're zooping and the yarn in between you somehow moves and catches on something in the environment, then it tangles around it, and you can't unmerge anymore, and you have to just reset from checkpoint.
Zoops require line of sight. They won't work without line of sight. Like, you can try and zoop, you can press the buttons to zoop, and nothing will happen if you don't have line of sight. Even when you have line of sight, if it's not completely clean, your yarn can get tangled on objects, and if that happens, then yeah, you have to reset a checkpoint, which usually is not the end of the world, because checkpoints are frequent. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, L? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ugh, okay, this is like... This one right here, that's some of the hardest zooping in the whole game right there.
Because again, Ray has to, in order for me to get additional height and additional, leftward or rightward movement, Ray has to move herself. She can't just, will me going farther left into being.
But if I touch the little blinky light, then it messes with the zoop also. So I only have that little tiny bit between the edge of the log and the light.
And she's standing on a really thin log to begin with. So yeah, that's a very difficult zoop right there.
That's the hardest one. Okay, there was a whole swingy push a brick thing that down there, we just didn't do it.
There's also a whole screen below us that we just don't see.
I'm supposed to push a brick around. But
we skipped an entire screen.
We know where we're going, so we just go there instead.
Yep.
Again, we're supposed to push a brick here. And we're supposed to push this brick up and kind of use it like a seesaw and fling the other person up. And instead, we just say, hey,
but who needs seesaws
there, please?
When you have zoops?
And then I can just come right back up.
Zoops are love. Zoops are life.
Zoops are love and life. This is true. Some platforming here. This is a good time for donations. Not really anything exciting happening for the next minute or two.
Except for yet another just really delightful outdoor.
It's just lovely. But we're not doing anything wild. So.
Nice lush forest.
Kids just hanging out.
Yep.
You're gonna... Yeah, okay. There's a little tiny cutscene skip right here. If you land on that log, you watch some birds fly. It just gives you some ambiance, but we just don't land there. Saves you a whole 2 seconds, probably. And now we're learning how to pull on things. You can... There's yarn that connects you, and then there's kind of the ends of the yarn on the other side that you can use to grab things.
Right.
And
not the greatest swing in the world.
Right there, he used it to grab onto that kind of a little attachment point that you could see, and you can pull on things if you do that.
Yep.
Later, we'll find out that there are knots. You can tie knots and then pull on the knot without being right next to it. But I think you literally only have to do that once. And we don't. So. Okay, in the last chapter, there was a turkey. Nemesis.
Yep. We're about to meet.
Nemesis.
Oh no, I got wet.
Swim of shame.
It's okay.
The kids don't have to run from the Nemesis this time, though. It's just us. They're having a grand old time skipping stones. Watching the sunset over on the lake. We're about to get into a fight with a fish.
Yep. Yeah, observant viewers will have just seen our new nemesis in the background.
I do think the fish is smarter than the turkey.
Oops. Okay, we're good. Oh no, oh no, oh no!
Yeah.
Why did you jump to the next one? Anyway, we died, so that's not ideal.
Because
Let's
he
try
was
that whole thing again.
I was already on. Yeah,
so
we
went for the skip, and that did not work. There we go. Second try is a charm.
There it is.
So there's the first death of the run. We've put probably thousands of hours into this game. I have never once had a full run without at least one death. So there's the requisite death. We got eaten by a fish.
Yeah.
It happens. As you do, get eaten by a fish.
See the checkpoint was right there. So even... I don't think there are really any deaths that cost you more than 30 seconds.
Yeah. Plus, we just got our revenge. That oar on the rowboat fell over and hit the fish in the head.
But the good news is the fish wakes up.
The fish is fine.
To fish.
We double checked that once because we weren't positive that the fish lived.
I'm sorry, you just hit a fish on the head with an oar. That fish has
and
problems.
it does. The fish like comes up belly up. So we wanted to confirm once. So I took the gigantic time loss to just stand there and wait to see what happens. And the fish did come back up. So it's all good.
There's about a minute in this cutscene here before we regain control.
Yeah, this is the longest exit cutscene of the game.
We're going to ride a swan and then watch
As
the
you
kids and then go back to the lighthouse. So if there's a need for donations or incentives or whatever, this is a good time for that.
Talking about upcoming runs, talking about charities that we're raising money for, that sort of thing. Excellent use of that time. But look, the kids are happy. They're hanging out, going swimming.
3 and 4 is so nice.
It's about to get dark.
Yeah, it's much less nice very soon.
I mean, comparatively.
It's certainly not a
dark as a game like this could ever get. Your brightly colored yarn figures. It's not going to be that morose.
There is a lot of fire, though.
There is a lot of fire. It's true. And play.
Cool. Okay.
30 minutes even. Cool.
Beautiful. Look at that nice round time.
So yet another cutscene skip, and now we're going to climb to the next level of the lighthouse.
So last time we go up in the elevator, after this we start using ladders.
Yep. This is as high as the elevator goes.
So chapter 5, if you happen to work for OSHA, I need you to look away for the next 12 minutes.
It's true.
We're going to spend some time in a factory that absolutely has no right existing.
This place is just a walking, talking OSHA violation.
Yeah.
It's a factory. It doesn't walk or talk, but you know what I mean.
Think that it might be an OSHA testing ground. Because why else would this factory exist?
Yeah, this is where OSHA sends new employees to train them.
Don't ever do anything that exists here. So we see our kids here.
Spray painting.
Spray painting. And then they're going to jump this fence because there's a searchlight, there's some dogs yapping in the background. I don't think they should jump the fence because, as you're about to see, there is an opening in the fence 6 feet to their right. But you do your kids.
Jumping the fence is so much cooler.
Way cooler. That's very true.
Does Bruce Willis ever just go... Whoa. Does Bruce Willis ever just go through the opening in the fence? I don't think so.
I mean, he might. If the opening in the fence were only 6 feet
why.
away.
I don't know why, of all of the
Bruce
action stars in the
Willis.
world, I went with Bruce Willis.
You can drive this forklift without a key. So that's good and safe, I'm sure.
Yep. All right, if I'm going to take another death in the run, it's going to be here. All right!
Nice job.
That little tall cigarette gets me 80% of the time.
These are all these cigarettes run on a cycle. So as long as you get the first jump, you know where everything else will be.
Yep.
So it's not really dangerous, even though it looks like it is.
Yeah.
In the background here, we're watching the kids. They're trying to hide, and he's about to get caught. You can imagine...
Because they're not supposed to be here. It's a dangerous work environment.
In the middle of the night.
And they don't have hard hats.
Imagine that a man working in a factory, finding a teenage boy, might say, hey, I'm going to take you to the office, and we're going to figure out who I need to call.
Yeah. Where are your parents, young man?
That's what they would do, and that is, in fact, what they are doing, and yet we're going to rescue the boy anyway.
Yeah, this is the part of the game where you start to sort of wonder to yourself, are we entirely sure that we're helping the right people? And I mean, yes, we are.
Of course we are.
It's 2 kids escaping from a bad situation. But also, Man, why you gotta be breaking into factories?
Zoop. I think you were just a little bit far right, maybe. There we go.
Just don't break into factories.
Just don't do that. So now she's trying to figure out where he is, and we're going along with her. Eventually, the entire factory will cease to function. You're welcome, kids. In the meantime, just lots of swinging. There's a lot of swinging in this level.
I'm gonna go for a super jump.
Oh, not at all.
I did not even remotely get
Wow.
a super jump. There we go. Got it the second time, though. So if you press the jump button at just the right time when that piston is going up, you can just bypass the second piston entirely and get some seriously high height.
We're seeing a lot of steam here. If you hit the steam, you fall down, just like if you hit the water in Chapter 2 back in the fountain.
Mm-hmm.
It knocks you down, you get fall damage. Not super great. We're supposed to do some more fancy swinging here, and instead we say no, thank you, we'll just soup. And now we are going into the factory.
That last zoop is a really excellent example of why it's important to have a really clear line of sight for zoops, because you see how Ray and I's yarn went all over the place, despite the fact that she, flew to me in a more or less straight line. So if there had been any obstacles in between us, very distinct possibility that we'd get tangled.
This is where I say, what function does this machine have? Oh no! This puzzle skips about
saves like 45 seconds.
45 seconds
Yeah.
to actually solve that puzzle.
It's amazing.
And this one doesn't have a fast solve.
No,
it does
sadly.
in the RMS or any percent you can go out of bounds.
Yeah, you can go up above this
Yeah,
whole
it's
contraption.
possible to go up to the right and just not do this, but we can't. So instead, we risk the fire.
Through the fire and the flames, we'll carry on.
How many times have we played Guitar Hero? It's been a while.
And we're DMCA'd. But yeah, like, you don't know what they manufacture here. You have no idea.
We do, and we think it's guns.
Ammunition, specifically. So we actually, for a really long time, we had no clue. We had no shots in the dark even as to what they might be making in this factory. And then somebody, maybe Ray, pointed out that there's a box that we see later.
It says Punga.
It says Panga. Weird. Extra jump. That we looked up, and it is it Swedish?
I
Is
think
that?
Swedish, yeah.
Because the developers for this game are Swedish. Is Swedish for, like, it roughly translates to bang. And on that same box, there is a silhouette of what looks to me like a bullet.
And in one of the bonus levels, you literally see bullets.
Yes, you see bullets being made. So we think maybe this is a
Ammunition factory of some
bullet
kind.
making factory.
Not sure why, but if that helps alleviate any fears that we had that maybe the adults were the good guys, I think
adults are
that's
not the good
less
guys.
likely considering they're making ammunitions. That being said, it seems like a really bad idea to have an ammunitions factory just full
this
of
much
open
fire?
fire and also maybe lava on the floor.
Oh, I'm gonna make it.
Again, would love to know what exactly is happening. If you land in this water, you die because it's not water, it's acid or something. Please explain. We tried for a box skip. If you land right on the edge, you can jump forward.
Yeah, if you're at the outside lip of this right wall of the box, if you land on it perfectly, it'll launch you forward into the box ahead of us. Very, very difficult to do, and also impossible to practice because if you restart this checkpoint,
The timing's all different.
the timing is different. So there's no way to, work your way into it unless you just start the chapter over. And it's 7.5 minutes in. Jinx. Can you tell we've been married for a while?
So you can see that box says Punga.
Panga.
And it has something that, if you know that it's a bullet, awfully looks like a bullet. Yeah. In the
It's a fun word, though.
Yeah, it is.
Unga.
In the background here, we see an office. Kid.
And the kid being
get
shoved
thrown
into the
in.
office. Which, again, I feel like is a reasonable reaction to finding a teenager running around your very dangerous bullet-making factory.
Yeah.
I'd probably lock him in an office, too.
That's because you're an adult, and adults are bad.
That's true. Am I the baddie?
You are the baddie. Any child would agree. You can't die here, but you do get a lot of fall damage if you hit anything you shouldn't, so that one's tricky. But again, everything moves on cycles, so
Yep.
if you get through the first one the way you're supposed to, it's not a big deal.
Here's a nice big skip.
And for some reason, this factory, again, full of OSHA violations.
Just has a lever labeled self-destruct. I mean, I don't think it's literally labeled self-destruct, but I pulled that lever on the far right, and now things are just gonna start exploding.
There's
Why?
no
I
fail
don't
safe, there's no key necessary, just literally just pull this lever.
As the great philosopher Yzma once said, why do we even have that lever? Why do we even have that lever? All right, here's the only bit of RNG in the entire game. We're gonna see what happens.
Bonk.
Nothing. Okay.
No bonk.
Sometimes, no idea why, we don't have any control over it. Sometimes one or both of the Arnies will bonk against this wall on the left and sort of bounce off. And you can land farther over to the right on top of that, whatever it is we landed
And
on.
save a step and a half.
Yeah, it saves, 2 steps. Which is
Useless.
no time at all. But it's fun when it happens.
In a game with no RNG, it's nice to have a little bit here and there.
Yeah. Oh no! Please don't get me cigarettes.
Yeah, now we're in the chase scene. I would also like to know how big the Yarnies are.
You cannot convince me that their size isn't conditional.
Yeah, because like earlier they were almost as big as a grouse, which means they're like what, a foot tall. What are these 1.5 foot tall things under here? I don't think they're that big anymore.
Huh. No, they gotta shrink.
So yeah, we're very confused about the size of the Yarnies. I don't know.
Here's another area where if we were running a less restrictive category, cutscene skips can save a lot of time, because this is a pretty lengthy cutscene skip. And someone has figured out how to just skip over this whole thing by going out of bounds, which is pretty cool. But I like this cutscene especially because it's a really, really good way to show people, hey, look, the colors match. And even the girl is wearing a hooded sweatshirt that has a
With a
Yarnie
Yarnie.
on it.
Which I want one.
It's really delightful. Yeah.
I would wear that.
I wonder if they sell them.
So you see the kids hanging out up there. We're gonna come join them, and then we're on our way out of here pretty soon.
Yep.
Oh, no!
What are you doing?
I was zooping to you, but it hadn't actually triggered the cutscene yet. Now I can zoop to you. Okay, the kids have successfully hidden from the adults.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, remember, the whole factory's coming down right now.
Yeah.
It's Armageddon in here.
There we go. Now we just need to find a way out.
Bonk.
But we got in using a forklift, and we're going to get out also
Using a forklift.
Except this time we're not going to drive it. Self-driving forklifts apparently exist. This is the
headphones warning. This is the loudest the game ever gets. For a really long time, I didn't understand that there was more than one forklift. Because if you remember, way back at the beginning of this chapter, there was another forklift that we drove. Ray pointed out that we could drive it without a key. And we drive it right into a very tall, very thick cement wall. And I was like, how did the forklift get all the way from over there to here? How did it get all the way there? And Ray was like, it's another forklift. And I was like, oh.
Okay, so we're through the portal, and that means we're going back to the lighthouse. Go. So now, like I said, we are done riding the elevator. We're going to start climbing instead. We are headed to chapter 6. So we've just gotten out of the factory, and now we're going back into the woods.
Yeah, but unlike chapter 4, where the woods were nice. Not nice woods.
Well,
Not
it's
nice
nighttime
woods.
woods. So it's already spooky.
It's also hot woods.
We'll see. We'll explain.
Look.
We'll explain.
I'm just saying, if you're watching this and your name rhymes with Schmokey the Pear,
Look away.
look away.
For the next 9 minutes. This game's just really not made for many people, huh?
It's made for me. I love this game. I really do. You will never... If Coldwood Studios, the people who developed this game, ever just need a hype man, I'm your guy. I love everything about this game.
Okay, this is another, like, save 40 seconds puzzle skip. And this one is, I don't even know if it is that long, but it's just the most annoying puzzle in the world. So we just zoop right over it. And then we're going to see the kids here standing next to an electric fence.
Well, it's not an electric fence. It's just a regular fence.
It's an electric fence.
Hooked up to a car battery.
Which is an electric fence. Powered by a car battery.
It's a fence that has been electrified.
On the ground there is a truck full of very large logs.
Mm-hmm.
The good news is, you're not going to see the cutscene.
Yep, we are skipping.
Watched it.
So Ray just zooped to me for a really long way away. The reason she did that was because it got her a lot of height.
I just skipped right over the cutscene.
Yep, there was a cutscene trigger, but to trigger the cutscene, you both have to hit the trigger. Ray went over it, so we get to skip the cutscene.
What you didn't see was the logs falling off of the truck and hitting the battery-powered fence, starting this fire you now see in the background. I was saying the good news is we have rewatched it for your information. We did not cause that fire.
Yeah, for a long time I couldn't remember if it was our fault because I hadn't seen it in so long. And as the great philosopher Robin Williams once said, it's not your fault.
But there is a lot of fire now.
There's a lot of fire.
So the rest of this chapter is outrunning the fire.
And it's easy to forget with the speed run because we're always moving as fast as we can. It really does. The fire is moving. It is very easy to not outrun the fire.
Yeah, it keeps catching up. I don't think it ever really gets to you, but it gets real close an awful lot of times.
Because in a casual playthrough, obviously you're going to get to these puzzles, and you're going to want to take a minute to sort of, drink them in and look them over and see, okay, how am I going to solve this puzzle? We don't have to do that. We've played the game before. A couple times. Whoops.
Go. That's just a little time save because he can zoom right down to me.
I think I just heard our toddler make noise from upstairs.
I think so.
She is supposed to be napping. But her grandparents are visiting, which means that she gets to do whatever she wants.
Alrighty, we'll get you out of here. What, one more underground room?
Yep.
This is one where you're really supposed to do a whole lot of hiding, and we don't do any of it. Bye!
And now you get to see the results of that electric fence fiasco. And the kids not having a good time right now.
Yeah.
Neither are we, for that matter.
We also are flammable, so not good for us either.
Acrylic yarn!
Now, we're going to jump on some ashes here. This is really important. You can jump on those ashes twice before you start to burn. And you can see, like, now we're flaming, and then eventually it goes out.
Yep.
However,
and we spend all of our time bunny hopping anyway, so it's not really that different from our normal movement.
But it's important to remember that Octini is on fire right now. I don't exist right now.
Because she's merged onto me.
This is important. We are going to use that to our advantage in just a minute.
Because right now, I can bunny hop twice. If I land on the fire, or the coals, or whatever, a third time, I will burn to a crisp. Or if I try and just walk on it for an extended period, I will burn to a crisp.
However, that doesn't mean anything about me.
We are going to bend that rule in half.
So here's 1 and 2, and now we're going to trade places, 1 and 2. So we're just taking our time. We get to trade places. Okay. Good job. So we each do 2. And then it never catches us.
Okay, so that looked easy. It wasn't. That's the hardest skip in the entire run. We call it firewalking or log roll skip.
Because there's a log that rolls that you're supposed to just stay on top of, and also the log is on fire.
Right.
And instead we don't do that.
But the log rolls more slowly than you walk, or bunny hop. in this case. So it's faster to do the log roll skip, unless you die, and you often die. I mentioned earlier my younger brother runs this game, the solo route. Hey, grab the thing. My younger brother does the firewalking skip solo, which you can't convince me is not just absolute...
Hey,
whoops.
Yeah, you can't touch the light.
Is not just absolute bonkers stuff.
Yeah, earlier when I said you can't touch the light, that's why.
Yeah, you see, Ray was zooping to me, but it canceled the zoop because I accidentally stepped into that light.
So our boy got stuck under a tree or something. She rescued him. We got just a little bit of a reprieve here. It even it went blue instead of red, which is very calming. And more fire. Although I will say, I think at this point, a lot of the fire is a little bit more in the distance.
Yes.
We get, I mean, not entirely.
For the time being, it's not going to stay that way.
You're supposed to do another little puzzle thing here, but again, turns out you can just jump on the ashes twice.
Yep.
So we just do that. Okay, we said earlier I'm not very good at platforming, so everyone pray for me. My 3 jumps. I did it.
Doing great.
I did my 3 jumps. Those ashes can catch me on. There we go. Okay. We're about to see another horse. Remember earlier I said there would be another horse, right?
There's another horse.
This is where the horse is. And then shortly after we get to see the moose finally.
Right. There it is in the background.
Horse,
Majestic horse.
Beautiful horse.
Look at that majestic horse with its
fire
with
horse.
its big antlers.
Safe. Definitely a horse.
Man, you know my favorite thing about horses?
Their antlers.
My favorite thing about horses is the antlers.
Now the kids are trying to get the moose out of this barn.
I will never get tired of it. Yeah, I just love it so much.
So they couldn't get the door open. We're gonna break into the barn that is currently on fire.
Yeah, actively burning down.
And we're gonna try and save the moose for the kids.
So if you had any doubts about the moral high ground here after chapter 5 with the kids who broke into the factory, the fact that they are trying to save the moose horse really redeems them. In my own mind.
It's a moose.
It's a moose.
Obviously.
It's a horse.
You can see the barn literally falling down around us, which is super fun.
It is.
Even going as fast as we are, the fire is finally catching up to us.
Nice.
I think I had to cancel that one.
It's okay.
We're almost out. We're almost out. We're about to find a water pump.
Here.
Look at that moose. That moose is freaking out.
It's okay, Moose. We're coming. We're coming. We're gonna free you, Moose.
I'm gonna put out this fire. And we're scot-free.
My eye has been watering for a little while.
Cool. And that is basically the end of chapter 6.
We just kind of have to make a little stroll to a little outbuilding, I guess. I don't know what you'd call this.
A shed.
Okay, fair. Yeah.
Is it full of potatoes? It feels like the kind of shed that would be full of canned goods on a farm.
I don't know. What is it full of?
Beer.
Beer.
And canned goods. And a rusty ladder.
Yeah.
And we're going to go back to the portal and back to the lighthouse and into our final chapter.
Into the final chapter. The final chapter, which is going to look at us and say, you know, you've been going left to right for the past 52 minutes.
Let's do something else.
Let's do something new for a change.
But only for half of it. And then in the second half, we'll just give you an entirely new game mechanic.
Uh-huh.
It's a very silly chapter.
It is.
So we're at the top of the lighthouse. You could see the light there. It is not burning. So the goal is to light up that light.
Unlike the woods, the
Well,
lighthouse
it's
is not burning. So coming up here is probably the hardest platforming section in the entire game. It doesn't look like it. It does not look this difficult.
It looks easy.
Yeah, knock on wood. Hopefully it goes well. Yeah, if it goes well, it looks really easy. but if it goes badly, you see why it is not. So this water here, this like sludgy water,
Really slow, like even slower than normal water.
and it's infested with cigarettes.
So
if you
fall,
land in it, you're dead.
Yeah. You might not die immediately, but that cigarette will catch you before you can get out. So. And then all of these swings are just very awkward.
Yeah, you have to really, really nail the swings.
See? Just like that. Just awkward.
There we go. Oh, come on.
It's all good.
All right, we're good.
Now, the kids are about to break into... I said this earlier. They're about to break into a dam. The dam is currently... Well, I don't know. Dark. I don't know if it's working. But we are going to open it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to walk through and turn on some machinery and make that water leave and make a giant river that we're going to run down.
I don't know why this room exists. Ambiance, I guess. But you literally take like 6 steps to the left and that's it. There's no puzzles.
Okay.
There's no anything.
This puzzle is very long and complicated. We actually used to do a skip that took longer than the actual puzzle just because it was less annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And now we don't touch it at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best thing about Zoops. This game is still really being optimized. When we started running this a little more than a year ago, the world record was an hour and 15.
Oh, no. Oh.
Before that, before Zoops were discovered, it was an hour and 25. And now it's down to just around an hour, just under an hour even.
Well, so I wasn't going to say it out loud.
Well, don't say it out loud. I think it is under an hour, though.
Not this category. I mean, feel free to check during the rapids if you want. I don't think... I'm pretty sure no one has gone under an hour in NMS. Even with the faster tech that we don't do.
But that is how much of a difference the Zoops have made. And we're still kind of, oh, right, here we could Zoop instead of swing, or here we could kind of climb that wall with a Zoop instead of... So there's still a lot of little route changes that are happening.
Yeah.
If you like things that are still being done, you know, instead of a game that is already kind of mapped out, this is a great game for that. Okay, we're going to pull these levers, and we're going to open the dam.
We're going to see what music we get.
I think we get to creepy music.
Yep.
There's supposed to be beautiful, triumphant, just great music, but something about how fast we go, the game does not like it. And so
not at all.
It keeps this very atmospheric music until the end. But if you play this casually, it's a little bit more fun.
Yep. So we're back to going left to right, which is cool. But we're going to spend the rest of the chapter, and the rest of the game, for that matter, jumping through water, these rapids. And you see that we've got a new gameplay mechanic. We have a double jump now. And the double jump is cool, but also good luck figuring it out in the last 5 minutes of the game.
And then never getting to use it again.
And never getting to use it again. And the rapids is... there's a lot of variance here, because there is so much... so much that depends on, you know, whether you get a good double jump, where you land... will determine so much of how quickly this section goes.
Yeah, there are no puzzles here. There's no puzzle skip. It's just platforming.
Yep. And once again, water just infested with these cigarettes.
And I'm going to spend most of the rapids just merged onto him, because like we said earlier, the yarn in between you still has collisions, so it's really easy to get tangled. And there are a lot of things that will tangle you here. So I'm basically just back up. Just like I wasn't on fire, I still have my double jump.
Mm-hmm.
So if he looks like he's used his double jump and he's about to land in fire, I can unmerge, use my double jump, and he can zoom back to me and be safe.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just kind of back up. Safety. Our kids are gonna murder someone in the background here.
Yeah, somebody gets pushed into the water.
Panga. See, that's the factory.
Yeah, so I don't know if Ray mentioned this. This whole rapid section is just the Yarnies backtracking, essentially. We're making our way back through the earlier chapters. And it's going to end at chapter 2, the city that we were in chapter 2.
we're gonna see the swan and the boat from the end of chapter 4. Oh, I got ahead of you. And then in a little bit, we'll see the party from chapter 3. And the good news is that the man we just murdered is getting out of the water when we get there. Uh-oh. Oh, apparently you can stand there. Had no idea.
And that's why Ray spends most of the time.
It looked like you were going to hit the fire to me. I was trying to save you, but I didn't know you could stand there. That must be how you get up to that little collectible. There are collectibles in this game, and we honestly haven't bothered to find them all.
Yeah, if we were ever going to do a 100% run of this...
I honestly don't know how. Because I don't know where they are.
it would involve getting all of the collectibles and doing all the challenge levels. And it'd be really cool to do, but some of the collectibles are really, really hard to get.
Like the one at the very, very end of this game is really tricky. So here's the end of... This is chapter 3. That's the party. And you can see him kind of getting out of the water here.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get the sub-hour.
Alas.
Which is too bad. Had we had a really good chapter 7, it was definitely on the table.
That's alright.
But I got nervous. I saw the time and I got nervous.
Look at the splits.
That's okay. Still a really good run. Probably still a PB. Oh no! Yeah, definitely not getting it now.
You saw me jump off of him, and that's where he could have zooped back to me and saved himself.
That's pretty uncommon these days. I very rarely take a death in the rapid section.
Okay, this big tree means we're almost at the end. Nearly there.
Yeah, time is going to be as we pass through a gate.
Like the railing on a bridge, basically.
Yeah. And time.
Nice. PB.
Yeah.
I love a PB run.
I love a PB run. PB runs are great. So this has been Unravel 2. There's a very great little ending cutscene, so we'll let it play out. But you see the kids have arrived back in the... I think this is the same town that we were in chapter 2, and appear to be safe, which is cool.
We're going to go back to the lighthouse, and like I said, there are 20 bonus levels. In those levels, you save other Yarnies, and they have extra customizations, so bodies and head shapes. Mm-hmm. And those Yarnies are now here to help us fight off these shadowy figures and relight the lighthouse.
Which is cool.
And it also doesn't make any sense if you haven't done any of the bonus levels.
Yeah.
Like, where are
she's just, where do they come from? Have they been here the whole time? What's going on?
Yeah. So you start
you
start the game with all the colors available, but then you can unlock extra heads and bodies, which is cool.
And eyes.
Oh, yes, eyes.
Eye shapes too. But you see all these little shadow monsters here just sort of laying waste to the lighthouse. And our little fairy friend is going to come and just absolutely Tyrannosaurus wreck all of the shadow monsters. It's great.
And the lighthouse has been lit. So good.
And all of a sudden it's not raining anymore, because apparently that's how lighthouses work.
Yeah, didn't you know? Weather witches live in lighthouses.
And the ending credits. I really love this little this text scroll. The love forms bonds between us is...
It's not to hold us back, it's to help us climb higher. It's really nice. So this is just such a lovely game. It's so good and wholesome, but also a lot of fun and really good for any sort of skill level, I think. You don't have to be a gamer to want to play this game.
Yep. So yeah, this has been Unravel 2. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Okay, bye.